sure. It's
In the 2006 publication of their book, Game of Shadows, Mark Finaru Wade and Lance Williams write, San Francisco is preparing to celebrate their new home run king. At this moment, this is when Barry Bonds was stepping up to the plate to hit his record-breaking 756th home run, and baseball fans were going crazy everywhere when the ball went over the right field wall. However, the fans didn't realize that all the celebration would come to an end when he would fail a drug test and be caught using steroids, and his career would be tainted forever. Today I'm going to talk to you about why steroids should not be allowed in baseball and why the MLB should have a stricter ban on their anti-doping policy. Baseball has always been America's pastime and is one of the sports that is associated with our country. Up until these past 20 years or so, it has really done a good job of being a positive thing in our country and creating a positive image. But as of recent times, the steroid era has really put a black eye on it and kind of had a negative effect on the sport and our country. Growing up, I played a lot of baseball, and it's always been one of the sports that I've loved. Here is my bat that I started off using. It's just a little small thing, but things have changed a lot, and I've played growing up. I've always looked up to a lot of baseball players, and as a kid, I always wanted to be like one of the professionals and play in the MLB. Moving on, I'm going to talk to you first about the physical effects that steroids have on the game of baseball. According to BleacherReport.com, in the years 1996 to 2006, 42% of the 40 home run seasons in the MLB history occurred. This is the steroid era, and it really goes to show you that during that era, there was definitely more power, and players hit a lot more home runs. Steroids they definitely give players an unfair advantage. Players hit for much more power, and rather than players who don't use steroids. Right now, the MLB doesn't do many tests. Players can get away with a lot of steroid use because they can do it without being caught very often. Also, players that use steroids become much better, and that can lead to an increase in salary. And so why would a player not want to do it if they can get away with it and also make more money? In the 1994 section of the publication of Sports in America, Robert Boy and Kirk Dieter write, any record that is broken with synthetic chemicals is irrelevant to me. Basically what they're saying is that a record that is broken when a player is using steroids or any synthetic drug, it becomes irrelevant, and it really isn't a record in itself. Moving on into what the MLB needs to do to ban steroids forever in the sport. First of all, I think they need to be more strict on the first offense of steroids. Recently, there was a lot of players caught using a type of steroid this past year. One of them was Melky Cabrera, and it was his first offense, and all he really had was a simple 50-game suspension, which may seem like a lot to most of you, but in the MLB they play around 150 games, so 50 games really isn't that bad when you could become a much better player. Also, I think a step that would really help ban steroids forever would be to punish the MLB teams and not just the players. If the teams know that they can be punished for a player on their team using steroids, then they may look out for each other, and the owners may test their players just to make sure. On the other hand, many people think that steroids would bring more excitement to baseball. A lot of people think that the most exciting thing in baseball is the home run, and by allowing steroids, home runs would increase significantly. However, I think that if there's an increase in home runs to too much of a point, then the home run will not be as exciting as it is today, because it will just happen every game over and over again. Also, I think the MLB should require players to drug test on a regular basis just to make sure they don't have it in their system. Bud Selig was interviewed in a recent Sports Illustrated magazine and was asked about the drug policies and getting to a zero tolerance policy, and he stated that it was to be determined, and they've had discussions about the zero tolerance policy, and they're hoping to move forward in that direction, but it's obviously hard to get rid of all of it. So in conclusion, I want to bring up an idea that if your kid was growing up and he was a baseball player and he looked up to all these professionals such as Mark McGwire or Sammy Sosa or Gary Sheffield, what would he think when that player that was like a hero to him was caught using drugs, and how would that affect his childhood? Thank you.
Bud Selig?
Yeah.